Imagine a world where a drug trade sparks brutal wars, reshapes empires, and ignites a century of humiliation for a powerful nation. This is the untold story of the Opium Wars. For centuries, the Qing dynasty stood as a self-sufficient giant, its gates largely closed to the outside world. China produced everything it needed, and more. European nations, however, craved China's exquisite tea, silk, and porcelain. A growing imbalance of trade soon began to strain their economies profoundly. Britain, in particular, faced a massive deficit, with large amounts of silver flowing into China. This threatened their economic stability and imperial ambitions. The British East India Company discovered a solution: opium cultivated in Bengal, an illicit yet highly profitable commodity to reverse the trade imbalance. Opium, once a medicinal herb, transformed into a widespread addiction. Its insidious grip began to undermine China's social fabric and public health. Alarmed by the growing addiction and silver drain, the Qing emperor issued stern edicts to ban opium, seeing it as a moral and economic catastrophe. In 1839, Imperial Commissioner Lin Zexu, a man of unwavering integrity, arrived in Canton with a single mission: eradicate the opium trade. Lin Zexu wasted no time. He demanded British merchants surrender their opium stock, imposing a strict blockade on their Canton factories. A staggering 20,000 chests of opium were seized. Lin then orchestrated their public destruction at Human Beach, mixing them with lime and salt to dilute them. British merchants, furious at their losses and Lin's audacity, appealed to London. They demanded action, viewing the destruction as an attack on free trade. Lord Palmerston, the British Foreign Secretary, championed armed intervention. He argued passionately for protecting British commercial interests and national honor. In 1840, a formidable British expeditionary force, comprised of warships and troops, set sail for China. The stage was set for conflict. The First Opium War officially began with naval skirmishes. British firepower proved devastatingly superior to China's archaic defenses. China's traditional junks and muskets were no match for British steam-powered gunboats and advanced artillery. A technological gap defined the conflict. The British systematically captured major coastal cities like Dinghai and Ningbo, crippling China's vital port infrastructure and trade routes. Shanghai, a crucial economic hub, fell relatively quickly. Its capture opened up the Yangtze River to British forces, a devastating strategic blow. Faced with overwhelming military superiority and mounting losses, the Qing government was forced to seek terms, its prestige severely damaged. In 1842, the Treaty of Nanking was signed, marking the end of the First Opium War. It was the first of many unequal treaties. Under the treaty, Hong Kong Island was ceded to Britain in perpetuity. A small fishing village became a strategic crown jewel. 5 treaty ports, including Shanghai and Canton, were open to British trade and residence. This shattered China's traditional isolation. China was forced to pay a substantial indemnity and grant Britain most favored nation status, extending any future concessions to other powers. The Treaty of Nanking deeply wounded Chinese pride. It ushered in what became known as the Century of Humiliation for the Qing dynasty. Despite Qing efforts, the opium trade continued to flourish and even expanded in the wake of the war. Addiction remained a national crisis. Post-treaty, tensions remained high. British merchants pushed for greater access, while Chinese resentment simmered, setting the stage for Round 2. In 1856, Chinese authorities seized the Lorcha Arrow, a Chinese-owned ship flying a British flag. Britain claimed a breach of treaty. France, citing the murder of a French missionary, joined Britain. The two Western powers formed a formidable alliance against China. Thus began the Second Opium War. Anglo-French forces, even more technologically advanced, launched attacks along the coast. Canton fell after a prolonged siege, showcasing the relentless power of the Allied forces. Its defenses were systematically dismantled. The initial phase concluded with the Treaty of Tientsin in 1858, further eroding Chinese sovereignty and opening more ports. Crucially, the Treaty of Tientsin allowed foreign legations to be established in Beijing, a direct intrusion into the imperial capital. However, Chinese refusal to ratify the treaty escalated fresh hostilities. Anglo-French forces resumed their advance, this time towards the capital. The Allied armies marched directly on Beijing, a move of unprecedented audacity that sent shockwaves through the Qing court. The Emperor Xianfeng fled Beijing, abandoning his capital to the invaders. The imperial court was in disarray and panic. In an act of profound barbarity, Anglo-French troops looted and then burned the Old Summer Palace, a treasure trove of Chinese art and history. This act was a deliberate humiliation, meant to demonstrate China's vulnerability and shatter the mystique of its imperial power. In 1860, the Convention of Peking officially ended the Second Opium War. It solidified the earlier treaties and extracted further concessions. More Chinese ports were opened, the opium trade was legalized, and foreign missionaries gained the right to travel freely throughout China. The convention also ceded the southern part of the Kowloon Peninsula to Britain, expanding its territorial gains beyond Hong Kong Island. The Opium Wars left the Qing dynasty severely weakened politically, economically, and morally. Its authority was irrevocably compromised. The central government's weakness encouraged the rise of regional warlords and a proliferation of domestic rebellions, further destabilizing China. China was forced to pay vast sums in indemnities, hindering its economic development and forcing it into a cycle of foreign debt. The wars cemented the notion of foreign spheres of influence in China, with various Western powers carving out their own zones of control. The Opium Wars, among other factors, contributed to the colossal Taiping Rebellion, killing millions and further weakening the Qing state. In response, some Qing officials initiated the self-strengthening movement, attempting to adopt Western military technology and industrial methods. However, deep-seated conservatism within the Qing court and bureaucracy resisted fundamental reforms, hindering genuine progress. The Opium Wars fundamentally shifted global power. Britain solidified its position as a dominant imperial force, expanding its network of colonies. Yet, from the ashes of humiliation, a new sense of Chinese nationalism began to stir, uniting people against foreign aggression. This simmering resentment erupted in the Boxer Rebellion around 1900, a violent anti-foreign, anti-Christian uprising. An eight-nation alliance, including Britain, France, and Japan, intervened to suppress the Boxers, further demonstrating China's vulnerability. Ultimately, the Qing dynasty, unable to adapt or defend itself, collapsed in 1912, ending millennia of imperial rule. Its demise led to the establishment of the Republic of China, a tumultuous period striving for modernization and national rejuvenation. The Opium Wars left a deep legacy of mistrust and resentment towards Western powers, shaping China's foreign policy for decades. Even today, the century of humiliation is a powerful narrative in China, informing its assertive stance on national sovereignty. The unequal treaties imposed on China serve as potent historical lessons on the dangers of unchecked imperial ambition and forced trade. Beyond China, the Opium Wars underscore the destructive global impact of illicit drug trade when intertwined with political power. History is rarely black and white. The Opium Wars reveal complex motives, intertwined economies, and the tragic consequences of imperial expansion. These conflicts, though devastating, acted as a reluctant catalyst for China's eventual awakening and its slow, arduous journey towards modernity. We remember the millions of lives affected and lost, the cultural treasures destroyed, and the profound shifts in global power that ensued. The echoes of the Opium Wars still resonate today, a powerful reminder of how past injustices continue to shape present-day international relations. What are your reflections on the Opium Wars and their impact on world history? Share your insights in the comments below and subscribe for more historical deep dives.